Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. So those of you who know me, I love Mary Curry. I had a crush on her when I first saw her picture in my chemistry books as a kid, and I'm just fascinated by her work and her advocacy. And when my grandmother passed away this past December, I discovered that my grandmother was born just before Mary Curry had passed away in 1934. So I asked my grandmother to go talk to Mary Curry to have her set me up on a blind date. And long story short, the ask has become legendary now. Now, just before I left for the funeral, I had met a girl here in the States and I made a mistake. I decided I was looking for housing at the time too, and I decided to move in with her ex-boyfriend. He was looking for a roommate. In retrospect, that was probably not the best idea in the world, but at the time I was going through a lot, right? I was heartbroken. I was going through workplace drama. I was I'm only an adjunct professor, so I'm always going through workplace transition, right? And I was getting ready for a big art show. This was late 2024. We were talking about. I knew the tariffs were coming, and so I was trying to get my last couple of art shows out of the way. And so as a result, I made some poor decisions, including moving in with her ex-boyfriend. I was thinking at the time I could maybe gain some insider information about her while doing that. It did not turn that way, obviously. Instead, we had a big falling out, and which made it difficult for me to continue dating the girl that I had met. And so I asked Mary Curry for some guidance after that disaster. And I got this feeling that I should maybe have a cooling down period, but I wasn't sure how long. And then it dawned on me, since I'm asking Mary Curry for guidance, why not make it 138.376 days, being the half life of polonium 210? And so I set my calendar for 138 days afterwards. And so 2 nights ago, I called her, and long story short, it has gone well. Uh, well, uh, 2 years ago, I had a falling out with my art projects. I was working with Bismuth Art, and I had a couple of accidents. I still have some marks on my arm from the time I splattered molten bismuth everywhere, and also I had a couple of nights where nothing was going right. Everything was entire nights where I stayed up all nighters doing bismuth, and it turned out wrong, and just really frustrated. And so I vowed to have a cooling off period, and I thought to myself, well, bismuth is now used to make polonium 210, so why not 138.376 days? And I looked at the clock actually. I actually made sure to add in those 0.376 days. I set it for the minute. The day of the cooling off period ending was coming, and I set my alarm clock. And as soon as the clock went off, I opened the box of bismuth to do my next batch. And long story short, my very first crystal after taking that break turned out beautifully. It was one of those geodes, about 4 pounds. And so I just have a very good relationship with Mary Curry. Every time I need some guidance or something, and if I need to cool off for a certain period, uh, the other time period for Mary Curry, the half life of radium 226, 1,590 some years. So I'll have to think about how to incorporate that into a cooling off. There's another possibility. Lead 210 has a half life of 22.2 years, right? So I'm trying to think what I was doing a half life of lead ago. That was around the time I uh, I was 16 years old when I quit drinking soda. It's been about a half life of lead 210. Ironically, soda sometimes is contaminated with radioisotopes. I don't know if it's contaminated with lead 210, but I'll let you read about that as well. So I had a really good connection with Mary Curry this past week has been a shit show of a week. Other than that, I still need to reconnect with her ex-boyfriend. Apologize for what had gone on in the house. What had happened was that my roommate was very extroverted, and he didn't really understand good boundaries. Sometimes after a long day, my head's about to explode, and I can't even get into that. To give you an idea how disastrous that place turned out. Some days, I almost dreaded going home because as soon as I walked in the door, I knew his mouth was going to explode. I didn't have room for that. Sometimes I had already had a difficult situation at work. Sometimes I had already pushed my boundaries, pushed my limits, trying to make a move on a girl. And after one day, I had a disagreement at work. I had really pushed my physical boundaries, trying to make a move on the girl. It was already very tricky, and the girl responded positively. And then on my way home, I went to a local grocery store. They finally restocked my favorite snack. Gotta understand, I have very unusual eating habits, and a lot of times when I go to the grocery store and I see 12 packets of my favorite snack, I gotta realize those are the only 12 packets I'm gonna have until the store decides to restock. Right? I shop at a Sprouts Market. It's not a very popular store, and I literally, and plus I don't know when they're going to restock. So now I have 12 packets for an indeterminate amount of time, and I got to ration that. And so when I see the store restocked, it feels like hitting a jackpot. It really does. It really does. I'm probably more happy to see the store restocked than I would be to find a coin worth $10,000 in my church. I really am. By the way, I'm not joking about that. And so as a result, my head's about to explode. I can't take it anymore. And I go home, my roommate just wants to talk about how his water heater broke. It's bad enough that we had to shower with cold water for 2 days. We didn't know why, and now he's annoyed that his water heater broke. Like, how is talking to me gonna help? I don't fix water heaters. I'm a college professor, right? And long story short, I think he was jealous that it's whatever transpired between him and his ex-girlfriend, and seeing me with her. I think he was jealous, especially when she came over and stayed the night. And whatever the situation is, this is the Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum.